So basically what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to start from the beginning. Basically what we're going to start with today and what we're going to talk about today is how to build that $1 million real estate brand in a way that it's going to ripple out into your market, into the world, and create the impact and basically the growth that you're looking for. So we're going to talk about some do's and don'ts. We're going to talk about some things to focus on, things to not focus on. We're going to talk about some shiny object syndrome that tends to come up. So here's what we want to talk about, and here's some of the things that we want to really keep in mind. And this is something that I want you to remember right from the beginning. It doesn't matter what you want to say. Hello, Amber. It doesn't really matter what you want to say. What really truly matters is it's the client. And I know that a lot of the time what happens is when you start building this brand, you start off by thinking like, what is it that I want to say? What do I want this to look like? What do I want the branding to look like? What feels good to me? And that is 100% the opposite way to build a really powerful brand. And because at the end of the day, it's not about you. And I know that that's weird to say, but like, it's not about you. It is about the people who you're wanting to attract, and it's about the people that you're wanting to serve. And I know that I sound like a broken record sometimes when I say that, but I think so many agents get so caught up in their own stuff. It's their own limiting beliefs, it's their own things, it's their own ideas. And I think what ends up happening so often is you end up actually blocking yourself because you end up just your social media, your branding, all of that, it goes and it attracts other agents. And unless you're with EXP or unless your business is attracting agents, guess what? You're actually doing the opposite of what you're really trying to do. So we really always want to be focused on who are we speaking to. So there's three kind of major things that we want to talk about here. The first one is to basically, like, the number one thing is know how your clients or your potential clients want to feel. Okay, so this is super, super magical. This is not about you. This is about them. How do they want to feel? What's happening in their lives right now? What's the transition that they're making in their lives and why? Because at the end of the day, that's what you're helping them with. That is sales. That is just the basis of sales, period. Where are they now? Where do they want to be? You become, or how do you position yourself or your team or your brand as the bridge between the two? That's all sales is. It's solving a problem. And if you're not clear on how they want to feel, understanding what the problem is that you solve, understanding how your services fit in there, guess what? It's going to be really difficult for you to actually create that bridge or be that bridge for them. What ends up happening is a lot of the time, people just end up kind of screaming into the void. They're like, I post on social media all the time and I'm posting my listings and I'm posting my sales and I'm not really getting any business from it. And because that's not what they need to see. That's one tiny piece of what they need to see. So that's number one. Know how your clients or potential clients want to feel. The second thing is create services and a service package and a core package of what you do that makes them feel that way. How do you make them feel that way? You solve their problems. You create a signature system around solving those problems. And I'm going to get into that a little bit deeper. Number three is to create a brand story that's easy to spread. This is not your grandmother's realtor about me section. This isn't the vanilla, hey, I went to such and such a school and then I got married and I had kids and then I decided to get into real estate. That may be your story, but you need to do better than that. Okay. So really at the end of the day, what the brand story needs to be is it needs to be marketable. It needs to be compelling, and it needs to be something that people are like, oh my gosh, that is so memorable. And stories in general, we push stories like crazy on social media. And the reason why we do it is that, stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. That's a crazy number. So if you're just spitting facts and spitting market stats and that kind of stuff at people, it's not going to work and it's not going to be memorable and people aren't going to feel like it's valuable from you, right? So a brand story is, if you're a single agent, that's a brand story that is about you. It's about you. You're the face behind the brand. You are the brand. You create the story about you and about what got you here. Now that brand story, the more you're willing to push it, the more you're willing to expand into something that's a little bit more vulnerable and a little bit more polarizing, the more spreadable it's going to be. the more people are going to share it, the more people are going to remember it. The more vanilla you go with that brand story, the less memorable it's going to be, and the less people are going to remember it. So keep that in mind. This is not your typical about me section. This is an actual story that's related to your brand that you tell over and over and over again. And it becomes who you are. It lives in your listing presentations, your buyer presentations. It's the story that you tell when people say, like, how did you get into this business? It is the story that basically everything else is created on top of. So when we're talking about actually creating the services, and I want to go back to this point, this really isn't about how much stuff can you put in a basket, which is the way, and I've said this before, I know some of you who've been here quite a bit, you've heard me say this before. A lot of agents will create service packages and it's basically, they think about it almost like a basket, and they're like, well, how much stuff can I throw into this basket? How much stuff can I shove into it and call it value? And then really what ends up happening is agents start competing against each other with how much they're paying for and how much stuff they're fitting into their basket, whether or not that client base even really wants it. And it becomes the competition happens in two ways. How much more can I put in, or how much less can I charge? Both ways are actually not, from a marketing standpoint and a branding standpoint, they're not effective. So that's the one thing that I want to address. The more you put into this basket, the more you put into your package does not actually create more value. Okay? If you guys have questions as we go through these, please just ask. I'm here to answer anything that you need. So that's really, really important to remember. You can create a really simplified package that's easy for you to deliver, that's not expensive for you to deliver, but that at the end of the day is actually solving the problems that need to be solved. You're effectively getting that client or that ideal client profile from point A to point B seamlessly, happily. That's the goal. It's not a matter of, I'm going to sell you all these bells and whistles because I don't know actually how to talk about the value that I provide. So that's really why it's super, super important to, while you're actually creating your service packages, while you're creating your listing presentations, while you're going through all of these things, the main thing that you want to be focused on is, what is the easiest, most straightforward way for me to get from point A to point B, whatever that is for that client. Okay, now the other misconception is really, okay, so just to go back to that, a lot of agents think that they have to do more. They have to do more, they have to prove themselves more, and that's not true. You really just have to include the stuff that your ideal client actually needs and actually wants. So it's just really problem solving. So don't make the assumption that about what they want to feel either. So this goes back to the first point. Right? Most of the time we see things through this real estate lens, through our own perception, our own bias, and it's actually not right. So I see so many agents posting stuff online that's all about like motivation. It's about motivation. It's about struggle. It's about hustle. It's about business, and it's business mindset. That's not what your clients want to see. Your clients don't want to look at you as like this hustling business person. They want to look at you as this caring customer service person that's going to help them and guide them through a transition, right? So the more you have to keep your content feeling personal on the front end. This kind of like hashtag hustle, hashtag grind, that belongs nowhere in your real estate content, because what you're actually doing is you're alienating the people who you're trying to attract. And I know that like there's this thing in real estate people's minds that, my clients need to know that I have business, and they also need to know that I'm working really hard. They don't need to know that. What they actually need to know is that you have a proven process to get the job done. That's what they care about. Are you going to get them the results that they need so that they can move on with their lives? People don't move because it's fun. People move because something in their current situation does not serve them. So what do we need to do? We actually need to just show them how we can solve that situation, make it easy for them and stress-free for them, and get them from point A to point B so that they can move on with their lives. This isn't about you. This is about them. So I think it's so important to stop thinking about your business as this, I have to show how hard I'm working. You don't have to show how hard you're working. In fact, I don't want to hire someone who looks like they haven't slept in 3 weeks. I don't want to hire someone who's like on the hustle and on the brink of burnout. That's the opposite of what I'm looking for from a service provider. I want to find somebody who is like, hey, I'm here to take care of you, and like you're my priority, and I'm going to take care of you, and I have a proven system and a proven methodology to get you from point A to point B, and I got you. That is what people actually want. So when we're talking about building a really powerful brand, the brand, yes, you are the face of the brand, but the brand is always going to be customer focused. So again, do you know how you want your clients to feel? Stop playing a part. Authenticity is so, so important. If you are trying to create all these crazy videos with fades and music and scrolling branding, at the end of the day, what you're actually doing is you're almost cheapening the brand, because what people are actually looking for from you is they're looking to see a couple of basic things. They want to know that you're really friggin' good at what you do, that you are going to get it done. They also want to know that you're a good human being and that they want to work with you. Right? So this is really about like not playing a part, right? This isn't about, this is about not playing a part, not being fake. People can feel it, especially online. People, like, we all know that this person who, like, they start posting stuff, you start seeing a video and you kind of like pull back and you cringe and you're like, that's not who this person really is. Who is this strange human that I'm seeing online that is not my friend? Right? And so at the end of the day, you just want to start by being yourself. If you're funny, be funny. If you're not funny, don't be funny. If you are, if you love certain things, we tend to edit out everything that actually makes us real and makes us human. And at the end of the day, that's actually what people want. People want to work with another human being. They want to know that, like, yeah, you are awesome at what you do, but you're also like a genuine, caring person, right? So start having more fun. Have fun in your videos. Talk about the things that you want to talk about. Joke around a little bit. Stop getting these super stiff photos taken of yourself. Go for a walk and talk to the camera. Do the things that are going to make you feel great. Speak up about the things that you want to talk about. This all leads towards your brand, right? Exactly, Jenny. You don't want, like, your agent, like your clients don't want the agent who's like, oh, I'm up until 3:00 in the morning working every day and I don't see my kids. That's not what they want, because they also don't want to do that to you. They don't want to put another client on your plate if that's what they think your life is like. They also probably don't think you're going to do a good job for them if you're exhausted. So it's really, really super important that your clients see that you're actually practicing what you preach. That if you're telling your clients that you specialize in helping families create a better life, you help them upsize, you help them find the perfect communities so that they have parks and schools and all of these things, guess what? If you are also at that time in your life, they want to see that you're at the park with your kids. They want to see you with holding one of your kids on your shoulders with ice cream all over their face. That's the kind of stuff that they want to see, because then they know that they can actually relate to you. They know that you get them. And that is far more important than you doing 150 deals a year or 400 deals a year or whatever it is. Now, the other thing that I think is also really important to remember, that marketing is only about feelings and emotions. 97% of marketing is emotional. It's not the facts. The facts, yes, you need to back up with facts, but people make decisions emotionally first. People make the decision emotionally, they're drawn towards something, and then they back the decision up with logic. The logical part of that has to be there. Is somebody going to work with you if you've never done a deal before? And maybe not. But at the end of the day, it's about whether or not they feel that connection, whether or not they want to be in your world, whether or not they trust you. No like and trust, that no like and trust factor is not just listed, just sold, just listed, just sold, here's a pretty kitchen. That just listed factor is, I'm going to tell you the story of a time that, I'm going to tell you my most embarrassing story, and we're going to have a laugh together. And that creates transparency. Telling stories and being real and going through some of the things that are actually legitimately happening in your life, that's what builds a brand. That's what builds transparency, and that's what makes people feel drawn towards you. I want you to think right now about your favorite influencer that you follow online, right? There's usually one or two people that you follow that I kind of feel like I know this person. And if they, and I found myself doing this too, where like there's somebody online, I don't know who this person is, but I feel like I know them. I've actually done this before where I've said to my mom, so my friend blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh wait, we're not actually friends. She has no idea who I am. But that's the whole idea, is that like she feels like a friend, and she feels like someone who, like, if I needed something, I could just like reach out. So that's really what we want. We want people to feel like you're not on this pedestal, right? There's two different kinds of influence here. And when we're talking about a real estate brand, you want the second kind of influence. So the first kind of influence is like celebrity influence, but it's like distant celebrity influence. It's like the time that I was walking down the street in Venice, California, and I saw Tom Hanks. Guys, I did not feel comfortable enough to walk up to Tom Hanks and be like, hi, like, let's be besties. Like, how you doing? Where are you going for dinner? That's not how I felt, because Tom Hanks is on a pedestal. He's the first kind of influence. The kind of influence that I'm talking about is the second, which is people who you actually feel like you're on a level playing field with. That like you could call up and have a conversation and get advice, and this person actually understands you because they don't live on the moon. And this idea of like trying to be perfect online, that's not relatable to anybody. So the whole idea here is like, let's be us, let's be real, and let's create that know, like, and trust factor. That's what gets someone from stranger to client. That's actually what builds the brand. So values first. Who are you? Who are you? What do you stand for? I mean, I can tell you a little bit about me, and I can tell you, I mean, most of you already, like if you've gone through any of my marketing, you know a tremendous amount about me. And it's there's no smoke and mirrors here, right? And so that's really what it's all about. It's about building a brand where people feel like they can send you a message. If someone doesn't feel comfortable enough sending you a message, they're probably not going to use you as an agent. They may think that you're too busy, which is the other reason why some super, super, super luxury brands sometimes actually have problems. And it's because nowadays people need that face behind the brand. People need that human being that they trust, that they're able to actually connect with, that then creates that feeling of, okay, I can actually reach out to this person. I can hire this person. This person is going to take good care of me. Right? And this is where social media really comes in. And this is where this kind of influence really comes in. You can influence people in a really non-manipulative way. You can influence people and just bring people in and attract people based on what you're putting out there, but it has to be real. Because at the end of the day, we are human lie detectors. And if someone is full of crap, you're going to feel it, and so your audience is going to feel it. So if you're trying to kind of fake it and trying to put on like a little bit of a real estate show, it's not going to work. Okay, the next thing, and I want to go over this a million times, do not discount your services. Okay, this is bad for you, it's bad for your brand, it's bad for the entire industry. Okay, the more we discount, the more people think that we actually don't provide real value. And I know that there are people here who are tempted. I know that there are people here who have other people in their markets who are discounting, and guess what? Do you know how much volume that person has to do if they're taking listings at one point? They have to do 100 deals to even do like a moderate amount of business. And at the end of the day, their profit margins are really, really slim. If you want to build a $1 million real estate brand and you want people to be coming to you and you want to be the sought after person in your market, it's not going to be because you charge 1 point. It's going to be because you actually solve people's problems. People refer to you. People love you. You're building influence and you're building a beautiful experience for people. It does not come down to money. I have done deals at 8%. I've done deals at 10%. And it was because that was what was correct for the situation. And it has nothing to do with someone else offered to do it for less. For sure, there's always going to be someone who's going to offer to do it for less. But now let's actually talk about brands. You can be Walmart, you can be Dollarama, or you can be Chanel. And the biggest difference between the two is market. A bag from Walmart is still going to carry my stuff around. I can still put my cell phone in it. I can put a drink in it. I can put my credit cards in it, and it's going to get me from point A to point B. People pay for influence. They pay for experience. So if I'm going to go buy a Chanel bag, I expect the unboxing experience to be beautiful. I expect the sales experience to be beautiful. I expect that every part of the experience is going to be wonderful. And I expect the quality of the bag that I get to be even better. So this is really about, you get to be whoever you want to be. If you want to be $1 million brand, you have to show up and you have to act like $1 million brand, right? In the beginning, it may not feel super easy, but you have to make that shift into, I am not a discount brand. I am $1 million brand. What I'm building here is going to last. It's going to eventually attract everything that I want into my life. One more thing I want to talk about. Be a pleasure to work with. And I don't just mean to your clients. I mean, don't be a dick to other agents. And I say that because there are so many people. There are people in this group. I love you all anyway. But there are people in this group who are extremely difficult to work with. Be nice to other agents. You are not in competition with every other agent that has a license out there. You are in competition with yourself. And if you make every single deal more difficult than it needs to be, or you're not nice to work with, guess what? People aren't going to show your listings. There are literally people in my market that I literally cringe if I have to show a property that someone like this has listed, because I know that it's going to be an awful experience and I know it's going to be way more difficult than it needs to be. And a lot of the time, I think mentally why agents do this is because they think that they need to earn their commission. They don't truly understand the value that they provide. So if you're selling a $4 million house at 3% commission and you get an offer in the first day, a lot of the time what ends up happening is that agent is going to make that offer super complicated and super difficult and super aggressive because they feel like they haven't earned it. But at the end of the day, you've done your job and you've done what it is that you promised your client. You don't have to make it more difficult than it is. You just have to be a pleasure to work with. If you're a pleasure to work with, agents from all over the place are going to refer to you. They're going to love you. They're going to talk wonderful things about you, and your reputation is going to precede you. If you are nasty and you're difficult to work with, it doesn't matter if you're not like that with your clients, they're going to experience it. I've actually sat in offer presentations before and looked at another agent's clients and said, I'm really sorry. It's not normally like this. I don't know why it needs to be this unpleasant, and I'm sorry. Because really, at the end of the day, that agent was just trying to earn their keep. And if you're not creating enough value in your services and you don't really own what you do, you're going to feel the need to do that. And it's crap. It's totally unnecessary. And if you want, again, bringing it back to that $1 million real estate brand, you want to be a $1 million real estate brand, you have to be excellence in every single area. And that means systems and processes. That means lead generation. That means client experience. That means, every single, you need, and I'm not saying that you can't make mistakes. You're a human being. And if you try to be perfect, trust me, that's a slippery, slippery, slippery slope. No one is perfect. But there are so many things that you can do in your business to create something that's better and better and better. My experience is that it's the difference between coming from your soul versus coming from your ego. And it's the idea of you can either fill your ego account or you can fill your bank account, but you can't fill both at the same time. So what does that mean? If you're filling your ego account and you're doing something to puff up your chest or make you feel better or be a savior, which I think a lot of agents do, is they come in and they think they need to save, you're filling your ego account. And when you fill your ego account, you're not filling your bank account. So from a mindset perspective, your brand is not about your ego. Your audience is not about your ego. A lot of the time, we get so focused in on these vanity metrics. How many people are following me? How many people are, how many likes did this post get? At the end of the day, the people who are actually going to work with you, those inbound people who come to you and say, hey, you're my person, I'm ready to go, they're not the people who are liking and commenting on every single thing that you post. They're not the people. They're the people who are silently, quietly lurking in the background and watching everything that you're doing. And the first time, most of the time that you're going to hear from them is when you're actually saying, is when they're actually like reaching out and saying, hey, I'm ready to go. And then from there, once they're a client, they'll start liking and commenting on things. But a lot of the time, those people who are going to convert, the people who are going to work with you, they're just watching. They're watching, they're observing, they're making determinations. And really, that's what you want. You want that. So keep showing up, but show up intentionally. This is about understanding what they need and what they want, and being able to customize your marketing, customize your messaging, customize your service packages and your core services. That's what it's about. That's how you build a $1 million real estate brand. You stop making it about you and you start making it about them. And it all comes down to research. Okay? This isn't about, I'm going to hire a branding company. That's one of the things that I actually hate the most. Your branding company, if they're not going out and interviewing your clients and interviewing your interviewing your marketplace, then guess what? You're just going to end up with a brand that may not resonate. So the most important thing that you can do is do not create in a vacuum. This is the number one thing that I think most agents do, and it's the biggest mistake. Don't create in a vacuum. Don't sit down behind your computer and try to create marketing. Go out, talk to people, interview people, figure out what it is, their pains, their problems, their fears, their desires. And then you have the information, you have the data to create a first iteration. Okay? Branding changes. You have your first version. You throw that first version out into the world and you get feedback. Okay? And if it fails, that's wonderful because failure is feedback. What you're looking for is you're basically continuing to change and evolve the brand until it gets as close to perfect as possible. And the messaging is going to change. The marketing is going to change. The platform is going to change. But that's great because you're in business and this is the difference between kind of like building a successful hustle and building a real, legitimate, long-standing business. Okay? The reason why I'm talking about the $1 million real estate brand is because this is the only way that you can sell something. You want to build a business that you can sell down the road? Guess what? You can't sell your list anymore because your list is probably the same as 50 other people's lists. And at the end of the day, a really solid list of 300 people is not going to be as valuable to someone as systems and processes and a brand and influence and audience and all of these things. That is what is actually saleable. So it's really, really important that if your long-term goal isn't to just let your business fizzle out and die, and it is actually to be able to hand it off or to be able to sell it or anything like that, the most important thing that you can do is actually build a real business. And building a real business requires iteration, and it requires taking the business seriously. Consistent, predictable, lead flow. You need to have a lead flow source. You cannot rely on referrals. Referrals are not enough. Should you also have referral processes in place? Absolutely. But you cannot build things from one single area. If you're looking at business growth, you have to understand the metrics that happen behind business growth. You need to understand that you have 3 major levers to grow your business. You have referrals, you have new clients or new lead generation, and you also have existing business that is still needing to grow there. So you need to understand where are you focusing on? And you should be creating consistent growth every single quarter. Even during COVID, I know a lot of people sat back and sat on their hands and didn't really do much over those months. But that is the perfect time to actually build. It's the perfect time to build. It's the perfect time to adjust your messaging. The things that people needed to hear from you were different during that period of time than beforehand or after. So really, you having that skill set of understanding how to do the research, how to adjust your messaging, and how to iterate based on feedback that you're getting, because everything that happens in your business is constantly feedback. Then what ends up happening is that you actually end up with a legitimate business that is predictable and unlimitedly scalable. And those systems and those processes and everything can be refined over and over and over again. So this is just an absolutely beautiful way to think about your business as a whole. You want to think about what kind of a brand are you building? What kind of a business are you building? Who are you in your marketplace? Part of your brand is also going to be about connecting to what actually matters to you within your community. Who are you? What do you stand for? What are your values? Because those are the things that need to be, that actually need to come from your heart and need to go out into the world. And you have to understand what they need to hear, what they need to feel in order to trust you. Okay, and this is not about manipulative sales tactics. This isn't about scripting. This is about actually understanding on a deep level how to sell and how to sell to these people and how to build those relationships at scale.